Ladies and gentlemen, in this RedGamingTech.com video we have, you guessed it, yet more news on the Xbox One. This time regarding the game demos that were running at E3. There have been reports and indeed photographic evidence that the games running at E3 were actually running on, get this, Windows 7 PCs with, even more funny, Nvidia GTX graphics cards rather than AMD. Now, the really funny thing about all of this, of course, is, well, there are two things. Firstly, they're using a Nvidia graphics card. The second is that there have been numerous interviews. For example, Peter Moore told Jeff Keighley during a conference interview at E3 that the games that were actually showing and running on the dev kits were pretty much exactly the same specifications as home consoles. This is actually turning out to not be true. Because, as you guys are probably aware by now, probably painstakingly so if you're regular viewers, that's AMD hardware exclusively in the Xbox, and by which I mean the graphics card and CPU. But in this case, shall I say, they're actually using a GTX 780. So, the GTX 780 has got a lot more computing power in it than the mid-range kind of card that the Xbox One has. The Xbox One roughly has the computational power of something like the AMD Radeon 7790, so that's 7790. And it's not like that's a bad card, but it's by no means something like the GTX 780. So how much of a discrepancy is there between the GTX 780 and the AMD card that's of course inside the Xbox One? Well, quite a bit. You're looking at just under 4 G-flops, 3.977 G-flops base, assuming you're not overclocking the card, compared to about, of course, 1.2 for the card inside the Xbox One. Indeed, there was actually someone by the name of Julian Rignall, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, and this is a Twitter post, and I quote, "I just played an Xbox One game using an Xbox One controller that crashed to a Windows 7 Hewlett-Packard branded desktop. Magic." So, this is kind of amusing because there's something even funnier. They're actually using Windows 7 rather than Windows 8. Now, that could just be convenience sake or whatever, but it also shows that there's nothing really platform specific here for Windows 8. It also bodes really well, of course, for those who are interested in emulation. Now, obviously, it's going to be a long time before emulation, as in something that, say, homebrew developers are able to put out, is going to be able to match something along the lines of the Xbox One, because obviously the Xbox One is going to have a hell of a lot of copy protection. But it does show the actual compatibility here. So is it surprising in particular that they're not actually using proper Xbox One consoles? No, much like I was saying just the other day in the PlayStation 4 Assassin's Creed 4 crashing video. Remember, I don't know, you guys are probably familiar with it, where Assassin's Creed 4 crashed on stage when they were demoing it on the PS4, and I did do an analysis of that, so you can check it out if you want more info. But to summarize, it's not really a surprise that they're not using proper consoles. I don't really think they were either for that, and obviously a lot of this stuff is still in beta, as in, it's not like the console is coming out tomorrow, it's not even coming out next month, so obviously a lot of the stuff we're seeing is not finalized. However, it is a little bit amusing that not only were the PCs using Windows 7 rather than Windows 8, of course, which is starting to get people across the internet, well, let's just go with making fun of Microsoft further, because they're saying, what, don't you guys trust your own operating system, your own Windows 8? And of course it may not have been exactly 100% their choice with the operating systems available. Maybe it was just the most compatible with the dev kit software or whatever else, who the heck knows. Obviously don't have access to the dev kits, so it's very difficult to tell. But in addition to that, they're of course using a GTX card, which of course is from AMD's rivals, and in addition to all of that, you're using a very high-end card when, of course, in interviews, numerous developers have said, no, 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 we're actually using specifications pretty much identical to that of the Xbox One. And no, you're not. You're using a card that's several times more powerful. So all of this stuff is just somewhat entertaining. Microsoft really seem to be having a bit of a tough time right now. There is, of course, the rumors that they're having issues with ESRAM in terms of the yields, in other words, how much of it they can actually make. And then, of course, there are the rumors that just simply won't go away about the issues they're having with the GPU clock speed. So Microsoft are having a really tough time of it right now on the hardware side. Now, once again, and none of these rumors are confirmed, it is not like Microsoft commented and said, actually guys, we're actually having problems with X, Y, and Z. No. But just how much of this is true and just how much of it is, well, made up or blown out of proportion or what have you, it's, well, very difficult to know. What isn't difficult to know is this type of publicity is not good, as people are already a little bit dubious about the system. And now you're not even running it on Xbox One proper hardware, using much more powerful hardware to demo the games. Now, obviously, there are always smoke and mirrors in terms of E3. Very rarely it's actually using the consoles because, well, most of the time they want to demo it on a much more powerful hardware to make the game look as good as possible. However, there are kind of limits. Regardless, I think that's just about it for this particular video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it and at least had a bit of a chuckle. As I've said previously, it is not like the fact that they're not using Xbox One hardware is a huge shock. I would not be surprised at all if a similar story was actually being told for the PlayStation 4. It's just more amusing from Microsoft since they're even using a Windows 7 operating system. Regardless, hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you soon. Take care, and bye for now.